Hi, I'm Dave, founder of Halloween Year Round, and today I'm reviewing Castlevania Nocturne Season 2, now streaming on Netflix. Full disclosure, I'm not a gamer, so I'm approaching this series just like any other fan of like vampire horror, whatever. I'm not looking to it for game accuracy. I haven't played Castlevania in like 20 years, and I barely remember it, so I'm coming to it much more as like a movie TV horror fan. And I really like this season. I have to say, I was a fan of the original series that ran on Netflix a few years ago. When they did the sequel, spin-off, whatever you want to call it, Nocturne Season 1, it was okay. This season made me love Castlevania again. This one, I think it pays off everything that season 1 set. Season 1 was a lot of setup, season 2 is the payoff, and it actually feels like Castlevania again. So I'm going to keep this as spoiler free as I can. I might get a little bit into spoilers later, but I will give a warning when that happens. But let's get into it.
Done running. Listen now.
So we pick up immediately after the big battle in season 1, and everyone's kind of reeling, for lack of a better term, having their own existential crisis. Whether it's Maria dealing with the fact that her mom's a vampire, whether it's Annette reconnecting with her mom in the spirit world and kind of finding her powers and lineage and trapped there, or Richter finding out that his grandfather is apparently alive and just all these other things. But most importantly, we have Alucard back, which is something that I felt was sorely missing from season 1 and made it feel less Castlevania to me. I still miss Dracula. He was my favorite character, and I wish that he had been in the original series longer. But I like that we have Alucard. I like that he feels like the same character, and even like little references to like, oh, Trevor Belmont would be proud of you, Richter, kind of bridges the gap between the two series that I really, really like. I also like, as a history buff, as someone who went to school to be a history teacher, I love that it really ups the sort of historical fiction that, we're getting vampires involved in the French Revolution. I would love to see this series or maybe other series like it take supernatural horror elements and inject them into real life historical events just to shake things up. If anything, I felt like it didn't go far enough with it, especially because they set up that there's going to be like this big battle. And I mean, to be fair, there is the big battle, but I feel like the big battle wasn't really between like, it was still just between like the vampires, and I kind of wanted to see like a full scale war, which might still happen, but we'll see. As far as villains go, I'm on the fence about what they do with Drolta, because on the one hand, it frustrates me that, spoilers, they bring her back from the dead, because I hate when movies and TV don't just let characters stay dead. Obviously, I know this is a series about freaking vampires that are undead, so that's why I hesitate to even mention that criticism. But I almost feel like Drolta is a better villain than Elizabeth Bathory, because she's much more ancient, and I feel like she's serving Bathory, and I feel like it should be the other way around. And then again, spoilers, when we kind of have that bait and switch at the end from episode 7 to 8, where it's like, well, we defeated one, and now Drolta's going to be the villain just for like this last sequence. It made me feel like, well, why weren't you just doing that from the start? Why wasn't Drolta the main focus from the start? Bathory is just, I mean, she's a cool villain, but I think Drolta would have been a better one. And I think that the whole like confrontation with Sekhmet is really, really interesting. And I'll tell you why. So many times you have in history, people committing atrocities saying it's in the name of their god. Here you have Bathory literally doing all these things, harnessing the power of Sekhmet. And I think it's really interesting that you can have the literal goddess Sekhmet show up and be like, no, what are you doing? How dare you do this? I'm going to help defeat you. I just think that's such an interesting spin on the whole, like, you know, God wills it mentality that again, I think would have worked better with Drolta because again, she's the one from ancient Egypt. She's the one who you know has been the priestess. She's like it feels like if anyone was going to be feel more entitled to and feel like they could harness Sekhmet's power, I think it's Drolta instead of Bathory. But overall, I really, really enjoyed the season. There was a real finality to that last episode that season one felt like it ended on a cliffhanger that this season was able to pick right up. And this season kind of ended with a sense of closure. You had Richter telling Olrox, same thing he told him, I will kill you, but not today. You have the characters kind of going their separate ways. I don't know where you go from here. I don't know if you pick up another season a few years later, see where they are. But if this is if this is it for Nocturne, as a fan, I'm satisfied. I have to mention this, and I'm sorry. As a fan of animation, I'm not satisfied because it's unfair of me to criticize this series in particular for it, but it suffers from the same issue of just the animation is a little too static for me. And like I said, I don't want to hold that specifically against Castlevania Nocturne because it is an issue permeating in the whole industry right now. I saw War of the Rohirrim. If you saw it, you know what I mean. But I couldn't not mention it. All things said, though, I really enjoyed this season, even if it wasn't perfect. A lot more of it worked for me than didn't. I liked it a lot better than season one. And while I still prefer the original Castlevania TV show, this felt more in line with that and felt more like Castlevania to me. But hey, these are just my thoughts. This is just my rant, and this is just my review. Let me know what yours are. What did you think of Castlevania Nocturne Season 2? How did it compare to Season 1? Do you hope to see a Season 3? What do you want to see in it? Let me know in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff. If you don't, you may end up trapped in the spirit world as some blood countess tries to steal part of your soul to rule the world with. And as always, every day is Halloween.